Hey guys, in this video we'll be going over more file operations in Python. This is a continuation of the Python video series. So we'll be going over records and fields. So a record is a complete set of data about an item, and a field is an individual piece of data within a record. So for example, if you're used to other languages, basically a whole object has data, has attributes or fields. So an object can have many fields or attributes. Excuse me, so in this case, a record is that object. So a record is that object in this case in Python. So a record can have multiple fields. So a field can be like a name, a birthday. So it can be like a string name. It can be like an int birthday or a string birthday. It can be like an int age, a float ID. Those are all fields for different things. So we'll just do some examples here. Alright, so let's just start with the main class, or sorry, the main function. So we'll define a main function, and then we'll have a variable num employees. Points to int, cast it to the input function. So we'll just say how many employee records do you want to file? Question. It's a little bit too big. That's fine, so we'll just have that. Oh, we'll just throw a new line at the end. So here we'll create a file object. So we'll say input file points to open. I'm going to use a Windows path. So I'll type in my path. Let's call it file.txt just to make it easy. We're going to be using write mode. So that will this mode will overwrite any pre-existing data, so just be careful with that. So here we'll have a for loop. We'll say for I in range 1 comma, so starting at 1 and then comma 2 num employees plus 1, because the range automatically takes it to num employees minus 1, so we have to add a 1. So it'll be the exact num employees. We have to change 0 to 1. Then we'll have so we have our for loop for I in range. Then here we'll print So we'll enter data for employee. Whoops, sorry. Enter data for employee. Number. Then we'll pass in here I. So count's going to increment every time. Something wrong with this here. Oh. Doesn't like this. Should work. What's wrong with that? So we'll just keep it like that. So print enter data for employee number, passing in I. So here we'll have name points to so we can have actually employee name. Points to input. We'll prompt the user here to say enter name. Throw a new line in here. So then we'll have employee ID. Once input enter ID number, new line, and then we'll have the last. So these are the fields here: employee name, employee ID. But when we create a class in an object, it'll look a little bit better than this. So don't worry about that right now. You can call it a field though. Technically, num_employees is a field as well. Yeah, so we'll just leave it like that for now. Python has a lot of different concepts. It's a pretty vast language. It's relatively similar to Java. But we'll be going over classes and objects later on, more in depth. So don't worry about that. And then here we'll say, we'll just say employee department. This DEP stands for department, and we'll just see it here. Input enter department, and then new line. So here we'll start writing the record to the file. So we'll say input file. We'll call the method write. Then we'll write the first field here. Employee name. Plus a new line. and we'll write the ID and the department. Oops, sorry, I meant to say input file here. Oh yeah, just to mention, if you're using a Mac or a Unix machine, your path probably will be different. You may have 1 or 2 slashes here. A 1 slash, 2 slashes, or maybe this slash. You might have to Google it if you're confused. Just type in how to write my whatever computer you have. Let's say you have a Mac. Just say how to write Apple Mac or OS whatever Mac, iMac path, and it'll tell you how to do that. And if you're using a Linux machine, same idea. How to write a Linux path. You should find something that should be helpful. So this is a Windows path. That works for a Windows path. As long as your path is the same, whatever your computer name is and the location of your where you want to put the file, if whatever drive you want to use as well. So here we'll call employee DEPT plus new line, same thing. I believe we will print a new line here. We'll just display a blank line. You can use an actual new line, but that works fine too. Then we'll get out of the loop, I believe, and then we'll close the file. So we'll say input file dot close to close the file stream in the buffer. Here you can just prompt the user file operation complete for extra points. Throw in a tab. Press your professor. Maybe a new line. And then here we'll just call the main outside. That should be all. We're not going to see anything if we could run through this with the debugger, so we'll just put a breakpoint here. We'll save it. We're not going to be able to see anything again. Python doesn't show file locations, doesn't show the actual numbers of the location, sorry, the memory locations. We won't be able to see, well, let's see what we can see. We won't be able to see the actual file right now. In the next code we'll see how to actually load the file. So I'll click the debug icon in the top right corner. Whoops, I wasn't out of the indentation. So I'll re-debug that, should work now. Alright, so I'll step into main. So num employees, it's going to take input from that, so I'll have to click the console button. So I'll just put like we have two employees, that should be fine. So open this file. It should show us our path here for input file. In the debugger you can see in the variables are fields. It's technically also a field, but I guess in Python it's an object. It's a file object. We'll go over objects later on. So here I is going to start at 0. We're going to enter the loop. because it's between 1. It's true, the loop is true because it's between 1 and 2. Some employees minus 1, and then this case is going to add 1. Because range takes the final parameter, the final range minus 1, so in this case we're going to add 1 to square it off to be 0, or like to be even, not 0, so it's going to be 2 in this case. Because it's going num employees minus 1 in the back end, it's not showing that, and then we're adding 1, so it's going to be, so range 1 comma 2 basically. So that should still be in range because it's iteration. It's going to start at 1, but it's going to be iteration 0 will step in. So in this case, I is going to be 1 to start. Or if we didn't put that, it would have started at 0. So here we'll enter data for employee number. I'll step over. It should have outputted enter data for employee. Sorry, I can't zoom in the variable, so you're going to have to zoom in on your own computer, but it says, or phone, enter data for employee number 1. So I'm going to step over that in the debugger. It's going to wait for input. I'm going to click console. Here I'm going to enter a name, such as like code, whatever. Hit enter. Employee ID, so I'm going to click on the debugger tab again, or the button, then I'm going to hit the step over button again. I'm going to do the same for the employee ID and the employee department. Excuse me, so I'm going to enter data here for the number, so I'll just enter like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, hit enter. Click the debugger. I'm going to now step over the employee department. It's going to wait for input. I'm going to click the console department, let's just say science. Hit enter. So input file dot write. So now it's going to write to the file. I'm going to click the debugger button. So these are going to write the data that we have. So it's going to take employee name wherever it is here in our variables. And it's going to write them to the file. So it's going to write all 3 to the file. I don't think this shows us the file. It just has some file data, it doesn't actually show us a file. So it's done, we're going to print a space here. And it's going to do the same, so that was employee number 1, now I is going to increment. From 1 to 2, it's going to be the last iteration. I'm going to step in, now I is 2. We're going to print enter data for employee number, I is going to increment by 1 as it already did, so now it's going to be 2. Step over, we're going to see that in the console, enter data for employee number 2. We're going to do the same thing that we just did. Enter data here. Enter name. Oh, I stepped into the Python method, so let me try to step out here. For step out. Well, let's hopefully that works. We'll just put another ID number, whatever. Well, I think we gotta mess this up. Hopefully not. Oh yeah, I think it's stuck. Okay, no. Oh, you know what? I think we're stuck. We've actually left the debugger. That's okay. So what would have happened is that it would have just entered the department, which we just did. Now it would have printed all the data to the file, spaced a new line. Loop would have been done because that was the last iteration. The loop would have got skipped then. Would have hit this, close the file. We would have hit this line, which would have closed the file, and then we would have printed file operation complete. That should be outputted somewhere. File operation complete. There you go. And then that's done. So at least we got one iteration through. Hopefully that makes sense. So in the next video we'll be reading the data from the file. Hopefully you guys understand some file operations, loop practice, practicing some fields, writing some data in Python. So hopefully that helps you guys. If you guys like the video, you can give me a thumbs up if you'd like, and you can subscribe to the channel if you'd want. Remember, programming and investing videos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Take care.